number. I've never seen this before, but they write.
He had everything laid out.
And then they take pictures of it.
I know who would.
We're live.
For some reason,
Commissioners.
he never.
Now's the time.
Should be,
No, I mean, he's with Will. Oh.
We're just gonna go to YouTube and just make sure.
Work for them to lay that out. That package could be more organized.
Well, I'm thinking is,
I was thinking the same thing.
and I think what Franklin were doing is saying, look, here's proof we delivered that. It's
I actually thought about that, you know. That sheet of plywood now 68. And imagine the money that was in this function.
Put the date in it too.
No, but I've noticed it takes like sometimes a minute for it to show up after you start.
I thought the same thing. I wouldn't want to set up that many thousands of dollars. It's pretty close to a house.
Wonder how much time before they start putting up fences. Construction sites. Fences.
Farmers say they're not,
See it?
pulling their shorts in the dumpster. I mean, you know what? $2 or $3 a foot.
I don't think so. You didn't, so,
So Rod, I said, well,
Yeah.
did you stream to the,
And they had OSB sheets, full sheets.
was there a separate YouTube channel for this?
Just asked him.
And it was like
I was
that's,
just told that management.
I think there's probably half a dozen sheets. $350 right now.
Hey Mackenzie, will you hop on YouTube and see if you can see us live streaming at all?
I just feel like.
Yes.
Because it says we are live.
My son tells me that people pay him, he's what goes in the eye in that.
I don't see the live link up right now. Oh wait, take it back.
Not worry about the guy.
Okay,
Yes, I
perfect.
see my big head. So we're alive.
Thank you.
Foundation.
All right, Paul, we're good to go.
Okay, we're good to go.
Thank you.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. A couple of things. One
Before
is,
next month.
we could try to stick to the agenda, and I'm gonna try to keep to the times. Items that come up, take note, and make sure for them, on the agenda item that it's related, or we'll put it on another. So,
Mary, do
first
you
item is to approve minutes from the previous meeting. See the meetings, the minutes from this meeting.
I sent everything out
They were all
today,
attached.
but they were sent out right after the last meeting.
Can we get a copy of those and I'll push this thing back? Some people didn't get it.
Okay,
Either didn't get it or it didn't attach. So, we'll move ahead on one and we'll come back to that one. Let's go to the next one, decision making on proposed recommendations, including meeting durations and frequency. We've gotta move some things forward somehow, some way. Need to be able to make a decision, a recommendation to pass to the commission. Let them move forward with recommendations. Meeting durations, how often do we have meetings? Right now, feel that, talk about funding, all the different funding have included grants. Ways help Jeff's department get caught up on
Yeah, I think pretty critical time now, and we need to produce something. So we could keep the monthly meetings, but until we produce a packet of recommendations, give to the commissioners, I suggest that we meet every 2 weeks on a Wednesday like we do now, and instead of 3, do it 2 to 5. And when we get caught up and we give those recommendations and our request to get something done, it's smaller, then we can go back to perhaps a monthly meeting. That's what I personally like to see. And I know Ed and I talked about it, you wanted to extend it, and that's why I said 2, and then every 2 weeks, and it's fresher in our minds, and
Where are we here?
One of the things, maybe we ought to kind of early on here, what's the goal? We've got to produce something. We were kind of leveling that. Goal is, yeah. Road names, future road names. We have to, we can sell for levy, because I don't think we're going to get less money. You want me
I
to?
think number 9 in our guiding principle gives us a goal. The ultimate goal, of course, is to get the levy passed, but what if we don't? So we have to have alternative goals there, I totally agree. And, I think we can make a list. Something. Get that going, but, what's staring me in the face is funding. Get that off our plate. Expire that as quickly as we can. This is what we can do, this is what we can't do. I would like to see more votes move forward with different issues. We seem to be constantly talking a lot about the same thing. And we got the group of guiding principles, and then we got what Kirby did last week about that software. We get some things done and then put that in a packet for the commissioners.
If we're putting together goals to as long as there's no violation, I think as the discussion about it, try to actually. This is my thoughts.
I agree. A lot of our ideas that we do have, we may need to do some outside staffing. To have a more detailed, gotta come up with a video. So, fact finding. Individually or as effectively to finalize the recommendation.
As a member, I have absolutely trying to elevate this process.
There is some need to speed this up because we're getting into the budgetary process. And if we delay it, we're going to miss one whole year. The other The reason I think we should expedite this is that summers where public is going to see the improvement in the road department if we can make it be improved. You're going to see it as much in the winter because I know of. There are always going to be complaints, but I just don't want to miss the summer, and I don't want to miss the opportunity for commissioners to share recommendations. That's
Do you have a goal for, I mean, to get this on a ballot, or?
I see the ballot, to be honest with you, and that's gonna be up to the road department based on the recommendations 2 years away. I mean, if we could get a good summer, if people start saying positive things about the road department, then by next summer, perhaps we could put it on the November ballot or something.
You can be at least
I
move
just-
away.
I talk to a lot of people. Even talk to Mike Water. His biggest goal was maintenance. And, better than what he was saying, but anyway. We gotta, that's a perception we have to change, but before we can do that, that's a long-term goal. Our short-term goal is alternative funding or how we're gonna fund this. In hopes of a levy, but in lieu of the levy, what are we gonna do?
I think, you know, one of the things that you guys have been doing is doing your research. What funding is available? That needs to be fleshed out a little bit. We just got a $600,000 one time left over from adjustment plans to work in this. We are supposed to get some additional heads out of the new American Recovery Act. It's so fluid right now. The state is voting, I believe the governor wants an increase in funding to the counties, but we don't have any idea what it means for us yet. So there's a lot of the unknowns out there right now that have to be fleshed out.
legislation. As far as issue for
The property tax bill was supposed to be voted on this afternoon by the Senate. Oregon is still, that was one of the, let us take 3% operating expenses. And a one-time, if you have a capital project that we're working, let us take so much from that capital project. That was, hadn't been voted on yet, and that was,
So how much do we have in reserve?
we're going to do that.
For everybody's benefit, can you explain what Foregone is? Because I know there might be people that are listening in.
Oregon is the taxes that the county has opportunity to take in the past. When they actually do the budget, there's money left over and it kind of goes in Oregon savings account. All counties and cities. So it's, if you don't take the levy rate, that goes into used in the future. If you have an emergency or there's some counties have huge Oregon. That's the concern, taxpayers.
So for the benefit of the committee, following the vote, how that's going to priority right now is developing.
Then what was that other? What was that?
It was 600,000. The payments we got ahead of that with the SRS.
That funding that we talked about.
First part was SRS, and the 600,000 was the leftover from.
So it was
Yeah,
leftover.
600.
What year was that?
What percentage of that is coming to the road department all? Or,
All of that goes.
Okay.
It can be-
It's earmarked from the state, they use specifically. I'll point down the agenda, can we talk about what we did with that? So that could be at the timetable for 2021 road repairs. Yep. Let's go ahead and talk about what we're gonna do with it at that point. That's, if you're ready to. Okay. And then we'll move on, but I think one thing we need to make a decision, can we have a meeting every 2 weeks? We get caught up on some of these items.
How about I make a motion and see, make a motion that we meet temporarily every 2 weeks, for 3 hours, starting at 2 o'clock.
Starting
All
at
in favor? Other discussions?
Starting at 3, right?
2 o'clock.
Starting at 2.
2 to 5
Every other week.
next week from
Okay.
now.
Got a further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to follow up on something, Gary. We gotta have some. When we leave these things, what we've been doing is kind of coming up with something. What are we gonna, you know, I mean, if almost, I need a task, I need something to work on. You know, and I think we need to do that, we need to identify some of these things. Well, Gary's worked hard, people about these things, I've played some calls here and there, had to deal with the local media, various things like that. I mean, we need something to kind of dig our heels at, our fingers into, so we bring something back to these meetings and make some progress. You know, so I identify things that we need work on, that need research, need public, maybe review with our people. What are we gonna, we can't meet, but we gotta have something to bring back to.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Talking about letting it be known to the meeting.
Oh, no,
You've
I'm
got
talking
these
about,
tests.
what do we leave from this meeting with, that needs to be? Something that needs to be researched. Well, you know, like for instance, we talked about a lot of things, not on this agenda, we talked about the food district, we talked about other issues, we talked about Forest Road maintenance, you know, what we're gonna do with that, we talked about, we need to kind of, we need to dig our heel into something. You know, it makes, you know, it adds up to a basket full of
And we've got several things that we've had to dig into, not deep enough to make a decision yet.
Right.
And I agree with you. You know, one that comes to mind, and one that you're probably quite familiar with is road issues with that.
Well, that,
You
yeah,
know, and we either need to keep it on the shelf or get it done.
we gotta go, yeah, we
Move
gotta
it forward,
find out.
one or the other. And
There's a-
that's part of this decision making.
Yeah, a ton of decisions out there, there's a ton of subdivisions out there, and I've done a little bit of work on that too. I'm looking at a couple of where my friends built a house, which built a house there, their roads are maintained by the county. Right next to them is subdivision or not, they're basically put in about the same time. Well, okay, even though I was there, I'm not quite sure why that happened. You know, but we're talking apples and apples with all that stuff. We kind of gotta get, massage this thing someplace to where people look at it and say, oh, that's a fair package.
Ed, I got a ton
Yeah,
of motions I'd like to make,
yeah,
and perhaps maybe we should do that.
yeah.
Then in the discussion, if I sure don't have all the answers, I know I'd go you crazy with emails. But, then we postpone it, but then you go out and do that homework that you need, because one does relate to accepting subdivision roads.
Yeah.
Have an idea, I'm not an expert at it, I would think you would be more of an expert at it, I looked at the laws and stuff that says we can,
Yeah.
but maybe that's how we do that, is we start making decisions, and if we can't, there's some gray areas, then we all search that out, come back to the next meeting.
Trying to get out there so when we come in here, we know what we're talking about on these. And I have to admit, I'm as lazy as anybody. Who's out there going out and working between these meetings.
So did you
If
do
you have a
any,
task, you commit yourself to it.
so did you do any research to find out why some subdivisions got it?
I
and some
haven't,
didn't?
honestly.
Well,
You know,
there you
I
go,
haven't-
there's
no,
your
I-
task.
Those are some
But I do, I think I kind of know some
Yeah.
of those answers. You know, one of them is, you know, well, okay, no, we're not gonna take that one because your roads are not paved. Or no, we're not gonna take that one because maybe you got a bad turnaround that's hard to plow in the winter. Maybe, oh, you got nice paved roads, sure, we'll take that, we're happy to have those. So, you know, but from a taxpayer standpoint, you may look at it a little bit differently.
Well,
Ed, I-
surely there's some kind of regulations, like if the subdivision does their own, sure, you know, because when you do buildings, there's codes. Surely they've got regulations on how to construct those
Well,
roads.
these have been county decisions, county
Right.
commissioner decisions. We never made a decision as a Z. We did, we did look at review of the things like that, so we would hand them to the county commissioner. However, but that happens at the county commissioner level, and that's where most likely it's a little political.
But I did, after we brought
It
that
should
up,
never
or I
be.
actually brought it up,
Yeah.
I found nothing in Valley County statutes or ordinances that prevent us from not accessing roads. I found nothing in the state. Then I did a comparison that we get $2,000 a mile from the state on every new road that we plow. Correct? We did that. So I took a mile and a half that's in Roseberry Ranches. You would have gotten $3,000 to plow that. It cost us $5,800 last year to plow this road. So it's not cost effective to take those.
Yeah.
So if we can say no to them, we should say no to them.
Yeah, some of that stuff we need, like the research we're talking about. And at some point, put a lead on it, but here, that's where we're at. Here's the facts.
And we have to make recommendations to planning and zoning to
Yeah.
up the standards so that they're more acceptable. That's what we need to do. And we need to do research, make that recommendation so that forward and it's acceptable to the.
I don't think there's any particular weakness in the P and Z part. Just go ahead and move from there to the county commissioner.
That's the beauty of P and Z
Yeah.
and a CUP county is you have flexibility.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to take everything with a negative effect on the taxpayer. Which are, the state's that, but not to have new growth affect existing people in Valley County.
So one of the things that we can work on is, ask Jeff, maybe. There are road standards that have not been documented or codified. What is a standard A, B, C, with a go, D? So those four standards. So our current ordinance states that when a subdivision comes in, Jeff is to look at that and Hey, this is going, he's going to identify those roads, these are A, B, C, or D roads. We need something in writing that states, this is what an A road is, B road. So did you find anything out there? No standard that is what that says. So we need to identify what other people are using as road standards in Idaho. So we can adopt those, and then they are not arbitrary or
Well, I
But
thought the standard was 12 and 4, either basalt or pit run, compacted 12 inches.
No, an A road is a school bus route. B is summer maintenance only. C is everything else. D is a substandard.
but what are all
road.
those things mean?
Yeah,
So A is
all other
paved,
roads, I mean,
Have you ever approved a subdivision that didn't have an A road?
I honestly don't believe we've had very many of them in recent times.
not in recent times.
No.
There's a ton of them out there.
Oh,
And the problem that
20,
we
30
have,
years ago.
problem that we have now is we're building off those roads that were
Yeah.
30 or 40 years old
Yeah.
and wanting to come into the subdivision on a road that's existing. It's a dirt gravel road that may or may not have had gravel on it in the last 30 years. How do we address that?
Yeah.
You know, what is that standard with a developer? If I'm a developer and I go to our website and say, I want to build down, you know, Missoula,
Whole state of
Missoula.
not dirty yet.
And you are 1,000 feet away from pavement. What do I have to do to that road, or do I have to do anything to that road to put another subdivision in on? That's my concern moving forward, is that the county is allowing development in areas on substandard roads, that all of a sudden now you've got 15 people driving back and forth on that road going, county, I want you to make me a road to get to my house. So we need to set some kind of guidelines on, if I'm within 100 feet of a paved road, I gotta pave that road to the entrance of the subdivision. Or if I'm within, I don't know what those numbers are, but it does need to be identified. So as a developer, I can look at it and say, this is what's going to be required of me developed in this area.
And
We don't have any of that.
moving forward with all this stuff, it's ongoing maintenance. It goes on forever. Once that county, when we get that, you gotta have some sort of financial base that takes that into consideration.
How do we
Can
rank
we,
this
can
up?
we,
Well,
well, call the question?
Yeah, we've got a motion on the table.
Oh, okay.
We have a
Yeah, we
second.
do.
That's what we're- and a second. And this one discussion.
We have a second.
Okay.
So we're in the discussion. What
Need a
we've
motion.
done is we've driven off into an assignment for somebody that we need to define what these standards are, and that's part of the decision making that we need to do. I agree with that.
Let's vote on
So
the
what's
meeting.
the
Let's go ahead and vote on the meetings.
Okay.
All in favor?
Second, there's a motion.
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, boom, we got
All
it.
right, real briefly, whoever's taking our minutes, can we take a bullet point that's discussion from this point forward when we go off the rails and these issues and we identify the road trading, but what is a A, B, C, and D? Let's start making lists so that we can actually create those discussing. Just chewing on it for a while. Thank you.
Yes, Stan.
Perfect.
Oh,
I got one. Thank you.
Okay, we passed out the guiding principles.
Last meeting.
Make a motion.
Make a motion on the minutes.
Make a motion that we pass the guiding principles for the Valley County Road Advisory Board, Michigan.
Back up. I'll second. Ed Allen seconds it.
From the guiding principles part.
Guiding principles. Move forward with those.
Okay.
All in favor?
I'm used to voting.
Hearing none. Motion passed. guiding principles.
David, on guiding
That
principles.
was the minutes.
Minutes.
It wasn't.
Gary's
Okay, I'm
motion
sorry.
discussion.
I got in the middle of
I'm
the
sorry, we'll go with the
minutes.
minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I second the
Seconded.
motion.
Okay, thank you, sorry
Let's
about
go.
that. No, you didn't. Okay, good.
Guiding principles are okay, I can get those approved.
Yes.
Yes, we did that.
Wait a minute, we got confused here. I thought we had a motion. Then I'm hearing that we made a motion.
Right.
Seconded it. No, with no discussion.
Discussion.
We're on minutes.
Discussion. Guiding principles.
That motion was made and passed.
Passed.
Yes. Gary motion. That's seconded.
Well, I actually thought I was making a second.
So can we start all over again?
Okay.
Sorry about that.
I make a motion on approving the guiding principles.
Discussion on that?
We ought to just briefly.
We've all had them on our email. Through.
Mhm.
And my comment is that if there's some issues that we may have with them as we go through them on the road, we roadblocked at a different spot, that we have a discussion on them and make those adjustments. Try to wordsmith a good foundation for us active to move forward, develop strategies.
I'd like to question one of these. I'm a little bit confused about what's oversight. They want, how that looks.
And I don't know what we can do either, to be honest with you, but I'd hate to do all this work and we just walk away. I'd like to be able to keep meeting, and oversight would be, I guess, to ask Jeff, do we get this accomplished? Is this done? Is this done? That is the advisory. And if they're not done, why? I guess we have a decision at that time what action we would take. But just to advise and leave, I don't know, Ed. I mean, I'm open for suggestions on that too. I don't really know what it means, but I'd like to be able to make sure it comes to fruition.
I think a review. Is that? Oversight is, to me, connotates almost like management.
But we're not.
And we don't,
We
no,
can't,
we
yeah,
don't.
we have no
don't
HR.
that, so,
Right.
whatever.
I hate to get into that, or any kind of inference that we get into that kind of stuff. I'd like to maybe at least consider oversight as being, periodic review.
That's exactly what policy.
Is that we would catch.
Maybe catch it.
So change that verbiage, you guys all agree to change that verbiage?
Oversight to review.
Oh, yeah, review maybe, as opposed to oversight. Oversight, to me, connotates, you hovering over the department, kind of. No. Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
What word would you rather use?
Periodic review. In other words, what we're trying to do is determine, we make a recommendation, and the county commissioners approve it and moves to the department. Did anything happen?
We can look at,
Yeah.
like software, the software actually installed so that we can have a full.
Right.
Yes, so fair word, fair verbiage for a change to Road Advisory Board shall conduct periodic reviews. What's the recommendation?
Dictionary defines, just to let you know,
Okay.
the action of overseeing something.
Yeah. Oversee, what does that really mean?
Watching.
I don't want to oversee, I don't want to oversee
Oversee is
Jeff's
watch,
department.
Could be a watch.
A day-to-day point of view, I mean.
Might scare you away.
Right.
So are we making an amended motion?
I hear a motion to amend that two words.
I'll make a motion.
Oh, Gary has a motion on the
Gary's got a
floor.
motion.
We need a motion, we just change it, then we approve the guiding principle.
Oh, are we in the discussion section?
Yeah, we're in the
we are.
discussion,
So
so
really,
we can
you're
just
right.
change it.
And then, but when we, vote on it, based on our
So
decision,
just
from
changes.
there.
As amended.
Let's review, is that what we're using? What's the
Yes.
word?
Periodic reviews.
The Road Advisory Board shall conduct
Follow-up
periodic
review or
reviews once
periodic
recommended.
reviews? Yeah. It's really the only one that I.
Second the amendment.
Second.
Motion to approve.
I think we had a motion.
Now in
Okay,
favor.
Now we're
not
all
favor,
voting.
We're all complete, okay. We're gonna move forward.
Yeah, favor.
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
So carried.
Motion carried. Okay.
But we approved the minutes yet?
No, I don't think we did. We didn't
No,
say
we
aye.
didn't.
You didn't approve the minutes.
Did we do the minutes?
I thought we did.
I thought
We
we did
seconded
that.
it, but we
made the
didn't say
motion,
aye.
Lorraine and Ed both seconded.
No
But
vote.
we didn't.
No vote.
Okay.
Every-
Okay,
all in
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll get this down. Do this little practice here.
We're doing great.
We're a little ahead of schedule.
Yeah, we're good.
So, next on the agenda item was public relations strategy.
And Mackenzie Kramer, our public officer, is listening right now.
Okay.
And can give her recommendations. Awesome.
Okay, let's have a discussion on public relations strategy and ideas from the.
I'd like Jeff to report, last time you guys had in the minutes that he go out and do some pricing on signage. The information, that when he's out working on it, that it was paid for by your taxpayer dollars. I'd like Jeff to give you a report.
So it's simple, cost savings, but professional. Every project I do, I went into Rocky Mountain Signs, talked to Jimmy in there. Gonna do banners. It'll be screwed to a nice piece of plywood, nice 4x4s.
Just pull those out the dump.
Like a sled,
What's that?
like a sled, so you can pick up
Oh,
spot to spot.
Or just dig 2 more holes and stick it. Every project will require a new banner. The size of banner that I'm doing is like a 3x4 banner, $32. Cheap. Look good. You do the big aluminum ones like ACHD does that you see on their projects, those are about $400. That's what I'm shooting for, and I just gotta get a prototype, if you will, to Rocky Mountain Signs, and they'll shoot me a and,
This
yeah,
preview of it.
a preview of what it's gonna look like.
Are we bidding that against anybody or?
We'll just do it from there. We could get it done in the valley, people are not
information.
We buy local anytime.
Yeah.
No, I
We'll
agree.
we'll be using 4x4s that are broke off from winter snow plowing damage, have about 2 feet broke off. Can't use them for street signs anymore because they're too short, but we can use them for these signs. I'm trying to save money, trying to make it look
We got a
professional.
4x4 mailbox post from the mailbox that got blew over. Where do you want me to drop it? We gotta leave the mailbox with it.
So, okay, so we have signage. What other strategies do we have to inform the public of?
You over here, I think it's premature. Because until we get a system of what we're gonna give the commissioners and give the public, because the public's gonna see that as well, I'm sure, what we expect. Do the signage now and all, without any corrections in the road department from the complaints I've received, isn't gonna do any good. I think it should be combined. I mean, I've got those vests with the county, re-logo the trucks, which would be that expensive, so they know Valley County, those kind of things, but that happens when they change, when they accept what hopefully we propose, maintenance and stuff, it all comes together as one. You know, sign out in front of the bottle's still there. I mean, I use that, but I'm just saying, you know, until we have an overall plan, we can't be stuffing stuff down the public's throat that they're not gonna accept. I see it.
So what is our overall?
Well, to get to a point to where we have approved certain items that we give the commissioners. And that is how to get the 10-year levy passed, alternative financing, and recommendations for the road department on how to conduct themselves in the future that will satisfy the public to vote for them.
I'd like to throw out there though, I think it's important that we communicate. I think that something that we can do and is just let people know, this is our plan for this summer. These are the 10 roads we're gonna fix this is when you should see us on Old State Highway and Spring Valley roads or whatever it is. Ask Jeff just to put together a list. You know, in May, these are the roads we're working on. In June, this is the roads we're working on. Give people some kind of an expectation when they can see roads being improved. And I mean, I think it's important that we communicate and be transparent with what we have. Funding we have right now, this is what we know to be true, where we're gonna be expending. We're actually gonna take $1 million this year out of any reserves that we have to start working on some of these roads that we're hiring. So we're not going to just be doing it. We're actually gonna be doing road construction. I think it's important that we share that with the public. Our 50,000 that we just got, Jeff has identified new projects for those funds. And I think it's important that we let the public know that we have a team of this many people with this much. And this is what we're able to do within a 6-month time with that number of people. Public wants us to try and go outside of that. If there's money available and we can't get to the work, then you can hire a subcontractor. But I don't even think we can find somebody right now.
With that 650, is that why we decided to go in the paving business and buy a paver and rollers and all that? Is that the
That's-
reason?
No, that was my cost analysis that I did. Here's from you guys. So a mile of road contracted out to pave, 24 feet wide is $300,000. I just found a brand new paver with all CAT equipment. It's a Weiler brand. A lot of municipalities are using. 8 feet wide and it goes to 16. Simple to use. I went a couple weeks ago in Boise and get a brand new paver for $195,000. For 20+ years.
But you do understand we had a paver before
Yes.
and it wasn't feasible and we got rid of it.
It's
You also have told this board you have a very difficult time finding skilled employees. Have contractors take them all, or to fill positions. When we first started meeting, those were the problems you're having to train people. paving is highly skilled. You're not only wasting labor, you're gonna waste a lot of asphalt if you do it wrong. So are you confident now that your men, just a few months ago, were not very good and do it?
I picked my crew on paper. Yeah, it's,
We see where I'm getting we can't find any good help and blah, blah, blah. Now, we're gonna go into paving.
I've been talking to a lot of the crew and.
I'll accept it, Jeff. I just.
I've found out everybody's weaknesses and strengths and it's, yeah. The paver and the roller, paver operator and the roller operator is either gonna make it through a paving process. Like my cost breakdown is, if I pave 14 miles of road, I paid for that paper. We're paying contract. This year, if I all of a sudden I get $600,000, I've already talked to one of the contractors here. He's so booked, busy.
But pavers, would you agree, are used for capital improvement on a road rather than repair of a road?
Oh, no, I'm not gonna just repave over any road. It's gonna be a.
So it's not used to fix roads, it's used to repave, create
Yes.
new, better.
Yes, yes. I mean, some of my roads, like, Spring Valley, Old State Highway's got a good base under it, but it's got 3 layers of asphalt on it. And that top layer keeps falling apart every year. And spend $6,000-8,000 on patching it every year. And like East Lake Fork, take for example, you need to get a skim patch on that from the bridge to the highway. It's about gone. You drive on it. I just need a little, something to seal the water out of it. This paver, I just go out there and put 8 truckloads of asphalt, and I can just put a skim coat on it after I tack it. It'll hold together for 4 more years until we get it rebuilt. It's more of a, wow, we can go with a skim coat on this without having to put it out to bid. West Lake Fork job I'm doing this summer, it's already budgeted for a contractor. Bids are out right now. And anything after that, we will pay. If I get this paved, I'm still working out the details now.
How do we explain this, what we're gonna do to the public and public relations?
That's
I think that's the key.
Let's go back to public relations strategy. How are we gonna tell, so we're gonna tell people we're gonna do Easton roads, we're gonna put this money from the state of Idaho, from CARES Act. May have some more. As a result, we're going to projects. We need to know is, what is the strategy? Do we have an agreement or some sort of a communication with the Star News, such as it is, to allow us to get that information in print form, on the internet? What's the strategy?
Kenzie, can you answer that?
I was gonna say, can I jump in here for just a minute? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. My thought on this, when we're talking about like a public information campaign, any good work that you do will kind of get swept under the rug if we don't tell people about it and why you're doing it and what the justification is for it. So I think there's a couple really simple tools that we already have. Number one, Kara with the county created an amazing GIS map that shows the entire road network, the status of every piece of road, and she also added a tab about current projects. I'm looking at it right now. It says there's 12 for fiscal year 2021. We had talked previously about, can we take some of these current projects and feature them just in the social media realm, perhaps in the Star News, and just start very basic, like what is the road department doing this month? So maybe we make it a monthly feature and talk about everything that we're doing this month. I think pretty simple and straightforward, we can do that. Whether people respond to it or not, we've put it out there in the public realm and given people an opportunity to participate and understand what we're doing. The second thing I would say is, I think the Star News can be very responsive to us, and appreciates very much when we provide some information to them so they don't have to be sleuths on everything. So, press releases following the road advisory meetings, press releases covering any major purchases, any grant writing that we do, just really it's just that public transparency. And we might kill them with press releases, but that information is out there and it's very transparent. And we can also use those press releases then to turn that into website updates. We can turn that into social media informational posts and things of that nature. So I think without spending a whole lot of time or energy, those are a couple low-hanging fruit pieces that we can do to just start educating the public. Because until the public feels, in my opinion, educated and feels that, everything is transparent, it's going to be really hard to bring something that may increase their taxes to the table. They want to know what's going on. So I'm happy to help provide that information to the public. That's what I'm here for.
Great.
So for our next meeting, can we actually have something in writing between you and Jeff's department to look at? It gives us really salient points. This is what we're going to do on each project. Here's the plan. Here's the time frame to start moving it forward.
Yes. How about I put together a proposal? And I think I have a little hard trouble hearing you guys right now. You're meeting every 2 weeks now, correct?
Yes.
So, okay, good. I will have a proposal for you. Jeff and Mickey, I will run that by you guys. We can talk about that together. I'll have a proposal to submit to this group in 2 weeks.
Mackenzie, will you see what it will take to do a monthly road department corner in the Star News? So that we kind of have an idea of what a cost would be to do a monthly ad for just a little while?
We could definitely do that. I think the city of McCall's had a lot of success. They've started doing an ad after every city council meeting. That's just a recap. So if you didn't make the meeting, you can do like a quick scan, and that might be something the county should look at. Whether maybe not weekly, but even every couple weeks or once a month. That is road department also, but anything else happening in the county, we could put in this ad and just make it an ad, a recurring ad. So I can price that out and talk with Tom about maybe some, bulk discounts.
Okay, and that's a good idea. We can talk about that offline.
And then we can get written bids.
He gave me a price, just, I went in and talked to him the other day.
If we can get like so everybody
yeah.
can kind of take a look at it and
Definitely.
make recommendations. Then Gary's comment about the vests, the signage for the trucks. Have you guys?
I was thinking about that somewhere along the line. Well, that banner, that black up there, black used to be blue. Gordon asked me what happened to the blue. Well, there's an old vehicle in our fleet down there that was still blue, and I don't know when it got changed, but our road department, all the seals that we put on the side of our vehicles, they shrunk from 12-inch to 8-inch. I don't know when.
Can't read them.
Yeah, I wasn't in my seat that I am now, but now that you guys have brought it up, I've been paying attention. I found some of our older vehicles with 12-inch decals on them. I don't know when it changed.
So just for everybody's information, we have a full branding strategy. So we will have the exact logo, everything will be the same. So when Jeff does this, it'll be replicated with the logo that has been approved.
We're working on, you and Mickey been working on finding somebody to do our shirts, our safety vests. And we used to use a older couple here in Valley County, and they have both passed the last couple of years, so now we're in search of somebody else, and they spoiled us with their prices.
Mackenzie, is that something you can help with? Do vests and
For sure. There's 2 local places I know right now of that we can source. I think there's a third. So I can get some pricing and work with Jeff on that.
So let's say Valley County Road.
it'll be like this on our shirts, but,
Oh.
but these guys
Put
are
on the
saying,
decals.
well, something on the back, or even on the front, a small decal like that.
On the back,
But our, but our vest needs something, our vest needs something on them to when, most times the back's turned to the public when you're working in the street. And all they see is an orange vest.
Sherry, I'm a little confused here. I thought the board here was supposed to make recommendations to the county commissioners. That's number 4. You guys take the recommendations, act on them or not. It seems like we're not doing that. We're now doing these things from the board to it. And
What type of thing? I mean, the
well,
branding.
even this, a recommendation that we improve the visual of the county, how did I put it in my statement? Perception of the county. That was a recommendation, and within that recommendation were all these suggestions. That was for the commissioners to read, either approve or say no to, then you tell Jeff, it seems like we're bypassing the commissioners here.
Well, she's a commissioner.
But she's not all the commissioners, she's one.
But-
Decision.
I think that the things that we're discussing were things that were already in process outside of this board. But as far as the visual on the PR, then yes, I think that's why Kirby's asking for the information. And we can take that to them. That's perfect. Mackenzie is paid to be that public relations officer. A lot of what she does is inform the commissioner.
All 3 of you will be informed of what took place here, and they approve it or not? Expenditure?
Yep, and he actually, Jeff brings a lot of the things to talking about what's going on. Regular code advisory group approval,
In
On
the-
the-
in there somewhere.
yeah, on the agenda.
I had the perception we were gonna give this packet to you. But now
However you
I
guys
see
wanna
it'll
do
be
it.
like a piecemeal. We make a suggestion here, Jeff takes it to the county commissioners, or do one of us take it?
I think if it's something, yeah, I think that's something that we need to move forward. After each meeting, that you guys come out with something that you want to prove, then yeah, it needs to come and you do it. Especially if it's time sensitive. Some of the stuff that we need to do for marketing, right now, we're getting a lot of wondering what's happening. Daily just responding to email. And so we need to put the information out, what you can expect. So the marketing part of it, honestly, the marketing part of it, I probably deal more with. But, yeah, I think any recommendations that come through, y'all know what's happening.
So,
Sherry, if I could too, I would say, like, the way I would see my process is I'm going to create a plan and bring this to the advisory committee, who will review it and say, yes, that sounds good. Let's make that recommendation to the commissioners. Or no, let's change a few things or add a few things and get that plan in place so that we can take a nice package to the commissioners to limit the amount of time they have to spend in order to approve it, so we can pull the trigger and get some of those things in motion. You can correct me if I don't have that right, but that was sort of how I was thinking this might work in my head.
That's perfect. And I think it's totally appropriate, when you guys decide, Paul's the chairman, he should come and present whatever happened, recommendation. If you can't make it, Ed can come, he's the vice chair, or if not, give it to Jeff for presentation.
You willing to do that, Paul? Sure.
And we do Teams meetings, if you're not available, we do.
But when road department, Jeff is up there giving his statement to commissioners, is that once a month, every week, what is it?
2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks? And we should have a representative from here go before that, and say this is what the board recommends, you're there to concur. And I like that.
So would that be an action item? Or was
so
that-
you
Would be
Hey.
something for.
doing this, actually, pulling the trigger on things.
It's changing my mindset, but I was
Yeah,
set
no,
on one big document.
yeah,
I understand
Yeah.
the argument that we probably could do this piece.
I just, to me, like our motion last and get off the down. And we make a decision and we come to something. And it's done and it's ready to go. Let's go.
Actually,
Let's-
Right.
Yeah, I would agree.
And based on, conversations that were had around the media after our last meeting, I think there's clearly something. That's
I know that Jeff out of this. I'll add it to the agenda. Action item. All in favor?
Really think personally, Sherry, that recommendations, if you're going, should really come from the committee. Really think they should come from the chair. You know, in other words, don't hand them to the road committee, but that's assuming the road committee agrees with it.
And we can,
Yeah.
make those recommendations as a recommendation to go on the record. Commissioners meeting that without.
We don't have to be there, we could be,
It can be.
lady here, yeah.
So that's correct, and Sherry, we can send a written document in to go to the public record.
If that document went to you, could it be presented then? Or would it just have to go to the commission?
Well, we're going to all three commissioners. And if it goes in to be read, here, so we've got to put it as an action item. And normally we've got somebody. So if it is just a document, that would read that document. Can't change it. Document given in, but it would be preferable. There's other avenues that we can get that information.
What I see is that larger issues that strategies, long-term strategies for public relations, some of those things. And there's some of these nuts and bolts that I was commissioner. So in a discussion meeting, that picks them up and says, that idea, I'm gonna go back to shop and figure it out. Those little things, I would hope that we would not have to get. It's
Recommendations to.
where that line is, I don't know where that line is.
It's somewhere along the line. When you start talking about fleet maintenance. Different than this. What's our plan?
Yeah,
We
right.
approve it. and-
What about P and Z not accepting new roads, actually?
That's a big, that's a big.
That
deal.
has to,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just not financial.
Yeah, that's a big
Right.
deal.
So there's, you just have to work that line out. Special. So we had enough discussion on the strategy. I'm not really sure we really need a decision.
We're gonna bring a proposal.
Proposal together and then we'll make the decision. Move on to the next item. Which is part of that is the road maintenance MOU policy. I'm not too familiar with that item. Which tools?
That is something we actually have legal counsel. The MOUs, we were trying to figure out, and is, when do you have an MOU? Do we have people all over the county don't have MOUs? We kind of have, Dr. Brian to figure out which ones are important. We've got, like, maybe 5 to 7, and how many roads do you think actually?
And we count all the little roads over here off the West Mountain. Public roads are in Payette Lake. Those are public roads with no maintenance. But they're doing their own maintenance on them.
What's an MOU?
I remember in the understanding. But basically releases us from liability. They cause issues to that road. It's her, whatever. I can't even fathom how many snow removal people are out there working on these little 20-foot wide road right of ways that we don't even have nothing to do with except for work permits. Every road, there's 40 of them over on West Mountain, and each one of them's probably got a different person moving the snow or taking a homemade drag up and down it a couple times and move it out. Where do we draw the line? Is it anybody that's touching Maine County or maintain? Well, I don't know.
To clarify, so are you talking about going backwards? Or are we talking from today?
Way forward.
Or
I don't know how,
Or adjusting.
I don't know how you go
You can't go
backwards.
Brian, did you?
So,
Brian, you're
I really
not
s-
allowed to, we're recording this.
okay. I think I said follow the open meetings law, right? So, I guess the way I see this, it's really a two-step process. It is articulate what a policy is for road maintenance, so the citizens, the community can understand what the county maintains and what they don't maintain. So expectations will be clearly articulated, they'll be publicly available, and then the implementation of that policy will be in the form of an MOU. We really shouldn't have a county-owned road being maintained without some form of an agreement that says who's responsible for damage that occurs to the road or injuries that occur as a result of negligence, and limit the liability of the county. So we have clear expectations for people who want to buy a lot, build a house. They know kind of what to expect when it comes to road maintenance, both in the wintertime and through the summertime, and that we need to sit down at the table and scratch out an agreement if the county isn't going to do winter maintenance and they desire to have winter maintenance done. Here's how that's going to happen. So there's a lot of moving parts to that and a lot of expectations from the community on what exactly maintenance means. And so if we can articulate in the form of a policy exactly what that means in a way that is standardized to the best of our ability, I think that's the desired outcome. So any recommendations or advice that you can offer on that, I think will be really helpful to the county in putting that together.
This is forward-looking policy that we're talking about for the lot off of Hornwagon Road. That nothing in place that requests or building permit. They're going to maintain their drive out to the county road. Part of your approach permit, develop an MOU with that. Part of their permit.
If it's a public road, just a driveway, just
Or public road.
yeah, a roadway.
In other words, this doesn't consider any private road, right?
No.
No
This
private
does
road,
count.
no
Nope.
public road.
Public roads,
That get maintained by private individuals.
yes.
Through an MOU.
And do we look backwards? I mean,
And the
we
greater
almost kind of
conver-
have to.
We have to.
Yeah, we have to.
You can't just go like, okay,
From here
that's a
forward.
done deal.
Yeah, You're okay, you've been
You know,
doing
we
it for
have to-
20 years, but we're gonna make you get one. because you just don't.
it's a whole greater conversation that just makes it better. Because it's, so
It's big.
when, just like you talked about, right up front, when do we take a road and become county with full maintenance on it versus all of the, the the other roads that we're trying to go to health and safety, fire truck, get up this road. You know, in order to service these people back. Some of, historically, I mean, the roads from years back, it's a lot better today. Still, there's no clear defined, when are we gonna take it? Up to the county. I think that that's arbitrary. There is certain circumstances. This road abuts a paved road that's already in place. It adds to our road system. We should take that.
In my short time with the county, it's become fairly apparent that there is quite a disconnect between a lot of what the community expects or believes maintenance means and what the county is able to deliver. And, you know, it is as broad as soon as I get an occupancy permit for this house that I just built, I expect Jeff to figure out a way to get the snowplow over there to plow the road. And that does not take into account the limitations on the resources and the personnel that Jeff has. So it's a big county, a lot of roads, houses are spread out, and the ability of the county to provide that. And this issue has been an ongoing issue for a long time. In fact, it's been litigated, in fact, that over what maintenance really means. Does it mean that the road gets plowed every time it snows, or does maintenance means that on a map the county will continue that road, or that will continue to be an ongoing road with no service necessarily provided, which means potholes don't get filled in the summertime or snow doesn't get plowed, but that's still a maintained road according to the legal definition of maintenance. And so, unless we can come up with a policy that clearly defines what maintenance is and we can do, then this misunderstanding between the public and the road department will continue on.
Where are you at in the draft process?
Nothing's on paper yet. I was hopeful that there'd be some. That's kind of why I want to come to these meetings and listen to your perspectives and your opinions, so I can take notes and get some good ideas, so we can reduce that to paper. And you know, it's a good cross section of the community sitting right here at the table, and pretty valuable insight on how the county can deliver a policy that will meet the expectations of the services that the citizens want. So that's kind of where we're at. Mm-hmm.
Definitely doing a job.
And it seems to me that this has some relevance to the planning and zoning of the. That, and then I wanted to toss another one out is, even if it is a private road, approach, and the drainage comes right across the county road, there's a whole bunch of doing damage to the county. Water's running down in the spring during breakup. You can see it, you can just tell. Is that addressed?
That's part of our permitting process. Anything newer than 2013, we have standards for steepness grade, all this stuff, so somebody doesn't build a 10% grade for 300 feet, and we end up with all the water and everything on our road in the spring.
Like if I apply for a building permit,
Right.
and I give them my plot, my side plot, that's gets reviewed. I mean, it's just
I want to make sure that that's included, because Jason Point Ashton comes down off the hill into farmer market, which is, the water runs down. So there's many more throughout the county.
How many roads does the fire department actually work with?
So
Input on all of these?
roads, there hasn't been a whole lot of road development since I've. Driveways, I'm only involved in driveways and it becomes a shared driveway. They can build anything you want, kind of goes wide and 12 feet wide, 13 feet tall on the driveway. inspects the driveway and tells everyone.
We don't have in our permitting process this driveway running
Right.
on single family.
It's over 150 feet, you're required to have a turnaround. But I don't know if planning and zoning is enforcing that. I only get contacted when it's the shared drive. I'm not seeing everything.
Yeah, huge issue.
I don't know until I get put in, and I do propane inspections now. Go down there and like, this driveway was built.
That's what I do sometimes, I go around the corner.
Yeah.
Where'd this one come from?
But the connect, in our case, the primary concern is the connector, where it connects with county road. Jeff does have, it does have to sign off on building permits.
The fee in there too. Yeah, there's a small fee to that. Yeah,
Or
it's
the
$50.
building.
If we're providing, the reason I'm asking is we're providing fire coverage for these properties that driveway. Assuming that somebody is looking at finds it out. Or,
Didn't sound like it.
yeah,
I don't see no well on a single
I don't know
family.
that that's the purview of the road crew, sorry, not the rails.
Right.
Outside of fire, would that, anything like that be included in the MOU?
You start getting into trying to meet, trying to set a standard for every project throughout the county.
Well, I don't think you.
Yeah,
So
we
I'll
have to,
tell you what,
we have to deal with where it enters the county road, I think.
I'm not saying that's the purview of our group, but health and safety issues when we're issuing a certificate. There's a standard requirement for fire access. We're not verifying.
Our insurance deals with that one personally.
I had that on.
So because, because the policies focus on more clearly defining what maintenance is, the MOU is really designed for those situations where wintertime maintenance, for example, won't be provided by the county, but as a private citizen, because they have a residence wants to do it privately, that MOU will cover that. That's the limit. If there are other planning and zoning ordinances that are not being followed, that really is a separate issue. That's a regulatory issue that we need to address and follow up in a separate process.
My question for you guys,
Address.
my question on that is, so there is a road that's being proposed off Skunk. That's already gone through the planning and zoning, they put out requests for feedback from people. Remember seeing one? Did you respond? Because my question is, it's like some of these roads that used to, they were designed as logging roads and now they're recreation. They're starting to build new roads off those. Well, how do we put some kind of policy in place so that you've got to improve so far back or, I don't know what that looks like.
Right, and as far as the roads, I get that stuff, sent to me, and, I comment on it and process that. That hasn't been an issue.
That's been done though in P and Z.
Correct.
At P and Z level. If somebody comes in with a subdivision, proposed a public road, that's all part of the P and Z. It would go then, P and Z can only say, recommendation again.
We need to,
That's what we need.
So the sidebar over here is if we've already got a E-grade county road, that logging road that runs back in there, you're connecting. That's the piece that is part of those. So if they own the ground on each side of that, and they're proposing to then the question becomes, that's on the road. And all of those things I would think would be happening with the negotiation between the conditional use permit, development agreement, different than with some of the other developments, and the MOU should play that in.
If you take it off this public road, if they're gonna maintain.
So what, we're gonna build on this old road, a new road section onto our county road. What is your impression of what do they have to do to Skunk Creek? This goes back to the backcountry, Alpine, I mean, you've got development all over the place. We're allowing splits of ground to occur on, and shared driveways or whatever onto county roads. Let's maybe and I don't know how to answer that. I mean, it's such a huge question. And moving forward, you know, what does the residents want? You know, I mean, it's a health and safety issue for a lot of people. There's a lot of people up here that can't fire insurance. Fire truck. A home that's $1 million home. They're taking the liability of that, but do they know that they can't get fire insurance? I've sold property over at CR, and I flat told people, you can't get fire insurance, and the sellers are going, what? No, I mean, they had no idea, they had no fire insurance. No way to even get
The deal, when they buy into these subdivisions. It comes to our county roads, though. Where we go with that, we don't. I think, to get back to Jeff's deal, the MOUs are basically protect the county from the county, the established county roads. So, you know.
So this new road that's gonna be proposed and built, the plat should state, you know, that an MOU will need to be signed with the county in order to maintain. There needs to be something on a plat so that somebody has some way of having knowledge that this is the situation. So that 10 years later, they're not going, I want you to come plow Skunk Creek.
You don't share how many buyers and
That's
how
what
many
we
realtors that read them.
Yeah,
totally get that, but it protects them. You know, it's a legal issue to me. I'm trying to find, getting rid of as much litigation as we can.
I think probably to help you, there might be on working about these MOUs, there might be the levels of roads that you put in there. You're at a level C road, which means we can plow it when it's frozen, but it turns to mud in the spring.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's ways you could do that when you write this policy.
There's a document that exists, and it's not a formal document at all. In fact, I think it's handwritten on just a piece of paper that Jeff has provided to me that does just that. You've got a level A or a category A, B, C, and D. What we would, I think, great input. I think that's really what I visualized was we're going to reduce that to a more formal policy, give clear definitions of what level A maintenance provides, what level B maintenance provides, level C and level D maintenance will provide, and eventually it'd be nice that be reduced to a map. So we've got clearly defined parameters of, you know, where those roads exist and what level of maintenance to expect on those.
Those property owners would take a D road and improve it to an A road if they wanted to do it.
Correct.
And then you get all the benefits of the
Yep.
A road.
And that,
That'd be for them.
yep, as long as they know that is a negotiation that needs to happen with the Board of County Commissioners and with Jeff's input on, you know, how that process needs to transpire. But give the information to the buying public for people who are wanting to build houses or buy lots, but also for those who own lots or own land that they want to subdivide, how the process is going to work. So the expectations are, you know, they're clear for all parties involved.
What I see we need to prevent is run at the end of a D road, 12 feet wide, we wind up having to deal with the complaints of all these people driving down their nice new houses down this road that needs $1 million worth of upgrading to hold the traffic and make it safe.
But you guys
we
catch
get stuck
that
with
now?
that later.
That's all part of that, that's all part of planning, yes. I mean, if a subdivision comes in, that becomes part of the, definitely becomes.
It involves some paving.
Yeah. They usually give us a plat that shows us, gives us a well-designed whatever, and we look at it and go, okay, fine. Still, but then it does go.
But Ed, that tool
Yeah.
could be guided by the county, finding what kind of roads they are, with
Yeah.
Jeff's help. That would help P and Z in determining whether to allow a subdivision or put a
Yeah.
requirement in there that the road has to be upgraded.
And I don't think there's any requirement for doing subdivision. They actually have to produce a county standard.
In their subdivision, but what they connect to is the thing, you know, and case in point is, if we look at the development that went out in West Ada, Canyon, the little roads that were cow trails and farm trails, have now got 2,000 homes attached to them, and the roads were never built to do that. And now the counties are suffering, they gotta pay the cost to rebuild it, the taxpayers. So, you know, I think those are the things that we have to watch for really closely.
Yeah.
And not trying to skip developers, but
Yeah.
somewhere along the line, there's gotta be a breaking point in there
Yeah.
where we take care of everybody.
Yeah.
To get back to this MOU,
And that's part of the
to
MOU.
focus on why we need one. We need one to protect the county when someone comes in and asks to do maintenance, right? And so, you got two different things here. You got kind of a futuristic development idea, and then you've got this immediate, deal, okay. How do we deal with these MOUs? And it sounds like we're a little loose on that right now. So, is that a task?
Yeah.
I mean, let's do
Yeah.
MOU, and who does it?
And would it be helpful, Brian, if they actually did research?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we're creating this issue from whole cloth or that there's no reason for us to reinvent the wheel if some other county has done the heavy lift. It'd be great for us to be able to collaborate with other counties that are faced with these same issues. I can't imagine it's unique just to Valley County. We do have some catch-up work to do, obviously, because we've got development ongoing. I think there's a half a dozen or more landowners that just from this past winter that I was talking to and Jeff was talking to about getting some sort of an agreement in place, but put it on hold till next winter so we could really make sure we get a policy in place first. So these MOUs kind of evolve from this policy so it's consistent and we're not doing it piecemeal. And so, just some evaluation of what some other counties, similarly situated counties. I know the issues with Ada and Canyon, but I don't know how much those would apply to us, but certainly Adams and Idaho counties, Boise counties, some of those counties might be helpful to us if they've gotten out in front of this issue.
I hear that there's a task, for you, this is work that this committee can do to help you move forward with this?
Absolutely. I think that the most efficient thing, if it's agreeable to this group, is I can create a draft with Jeff's input and circulate that to this group for review and input. That way, I think that improves efficiency on how these discussions go. You're volunteering your time and your time is limited. So if I can get something reduced to paper that, starts with the policy, starts with the draft MOU, gives you the concepts of what I'm thinking, you can evaluate that to see if that hits the mark or whether or not we're way off. And I think that'll be very helpful.
was a good one. I think that's something that really needs to be done to prevent rain on the department. So a timetable on 2021 road repairs. Jeff and I put that in there mainly so that, you know, we're getting our people to talk to us and when they're gonna fix these Lake Fork outlets, so on and so forth. Give us a quick rundown
Just,
and maybe some dates or just rough dates or something like that.
Quick rundown. What happened on West Mountain last week threw me into about a 2-week tailspin because that's something that, well, another project 2 weeks because I gotta get this road passable. Right. So starting next week, I've got 500 tons of material I gotta get out of Valley Pavings. Yeah, it's dedicated to me. That's gonna go out on the Sula and Horton Hollow area. Gravel. It needs it bad. Week of the 17th. Yeah, so the week of the 17th, week of the 17th, I'm gonna start working on the West Mountain repairs, south of Tamarack. The road just, whole thing just basically rolled upside down. Pit run went down and all the dew came to the top. Yep, that's probably that's gonna be a couple of weeks. Right after that, so 1st of June, I'm gonna start working on the West Lake Fork mile from over to the sea. Project. Road widening, new culverts. Base seems to be pretty good, all I gotta look at once we get the asphalt up. It'll be about the month of June. About the month of June, I start kicking people into the backcountry. Area. Should be open about then. We'll start chasing the snow up Lake Creek. Patching will be ongoing pretty much all summer, just trying to keep what I have together. East Lake Fork Road from the bridge to the highway. I don't really have a time schedule on that. I talked, Sunrock has the contract for the highway from Downey to Geinhardt. Have Boise. Once I get settled in here, I'll talk to them, see what it would charge me. Run the skim coat from the bridge to the highway, or if I do buy my paper.
Keep that full speed.
Get Doug to open the budget back up, that 650,000, whatever that CARES money is. There'll be a road pulverization, it's got a good base under it.
Oh, is that
Old State Highway. Up and down there. We'll get new pavement on it all the way to the end. That'll be in my budget for me. What's left over out of that, I'm gonna go jump down into Franklin Hill subdivision and get split down. According to the clerk, no. These are two roads that are.
They need it.
They need
One of the bullet points. Right. Situation. Big involved. Thought process. Excited for nice and other things available out there. And everything better suited to dollars, doubling.
So grants, I can get very small grants, one-time deal for $100,000, but we have to
qualify for it.
Right.
I mean, that's how I did Kelly's Parkway a few years ago. If it's not on the Idaho Transportation Department's major roadway, the highway, Spring Valley, get $100,000 for it, I might not. There's no match on it. Give it to me, send them the finished product pictures.
Federal.
Federal, no. They deal with major things. The Old State Highway, as fast as it's falling apart, they put Mary on task this fall to get the grant done. It's the highway through LTAC. Now, my numbers come up to about $700 to $800,000 to redo that road. The match would be $750,000. Rainfall, every year we throw $5,000 more dollars. I don't know how much that we got. Just in patch material alone on Old State Highway, we probably got about
This is.
just this spring. Next spring, they're gonna be $12,000. Yeah.
I just thought it was important to
Right.
talk about it.
But the American Recovery Leaders, but we don't know anything. Correct. I haven't seen any releases.
Jeff, in this timetable, do you have crew going out and filling existing potholes or the breakups like on the Market Road with
Yes.
asphalt? Not a big project, but are the crews doing that simultaneous to what
Oh, yeah.
you're doing?
Yeah, the big projects, I've got 15 road techs. Most of these big projects will take between the truck drivers, the grader, the water truck, when you're loading up in the pit. I've always got usually about 4 people going around patching potholes.
Daily, is that kind of the daily?
Daily,
basis you do it?
yes, yeah. As bad as the roads are getting, it's kind of nonstop. And a lot of the time, like, some of the public will call and say, hey, you know, this pothole's been out here for a month and getting bigger and bigger, and a little side road that, I'm not gonna say it gets ignored, but it doesn't get regular traffic on it by any county employees. I appreciate those calls, and we just got a letter the other day that made a big trip through 3 or 4 states and said, "Bad when they get home in the last 3 miles was the worst of it."
Do you have people that go around and look for them, or do you just have crews drive out?
No, that's kind of my job. My assistant's job is to go look for them, make notations, get the crew lined out for the next day. A lot of it is, okay, this road's got a whole bunch of small ones in it. I got Spring Valley with some craters.
Same with the
Small
trees,
ones.
where I saw the ribbons around the tree, the dead trees on Florida Market, is that you
Yes,
taking those out?
we had a tree fall that windstorm about a month and a half ago. While the guys were out at 12:30 at night, somebody ran into that tree. Caused some vehicle damage. I think it came down right.
But then I saw some flag to
Yes.
be taken.
Yep, so the guy he's an ex-logger, that cutting those trees down, and he goes, he was scared to death because he could hear those other trees crack. We went and looked at them a little closer, and it's like, you know what, we need to get all these out of here because they've all got root rot in. Yeah, little things like that, if you're not dedicated to a big project, you're working on small stuff like that, which would be an excavator, a dump truck, the tailgate off.
So regardless of your big projects, you're always gonna have 4 guys you set out doing these.
Yep. Yep. And then when we start the backcountry, that shorts me even more. Because those 4 guys that are out patching, I'm in the backcountry. We try to chase the moisture as the snow melts and we don't have to run
And
water
that's gonna
trucks.
start in a couple weeks, you said?
Lick Creek's probably about 3 weeks out before we start chasing it up from the pavement Little Lake. Won't get over the top yet, but this one like Summit's open, and I just got some pictures the other day from Lloyd Hunter's.
So in 3 weeks, the holes that aren't patched, we can assume won't be
Oh, no,
patched.
they'll get patched. Yes. However it works, I've always got somebody to go grab these.
If I have a question, you mentioned, for instance, the Lick Creek and movement into the backcountry. I spent some time, or I was there 2 or 3 different times on that Lick Creek Road. What we have nowadays is a lot of people pushing the snow, the big 4-wheel drive pickups. Almost, it occurred to me, maybe it's time for us to look at some of this opening on some of these roads. And you know, do we have to have that road open to the public? I mean, they can't go anywhere.
No, we
You
don't,
know,
we don't open Lick Creek, we don't open Deadwood.
no, but it's open to people to go up there and drive and tear the road up.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, why do we have to leave it open during that breakup season? I mean, that to me seems like
Closing a
off money.
public road is pretty tough. I mean, look at the
Why?
look at the Stibnite Road, we
Yeah.
put a gate up on it, we didn't lock it. We put a gate up there saying, you know, please, we're in spring breakup,
Yeah.
we don't want a whole lot of traffic up here because of flooding and stuff.
The state has breakup limits on their roads.
I have breakup limits on
Yeah.
spring, I just pulled mine last week.
I mean, I looked at that last year, and what happens, they groom it in the wintertime. So you got a tough, hard base, and when those guys go up there and drive on that as hard, as long as it stays solid, and as soon as it starts melting off, they're out in the bear pits driving. It costs you guys money. And I just look at that and go, do we owe it to the public to open that road and let them tear it up for about 3 weeks before it's dry?
Probably more of a
You know?
litigation. So,
I mean, it really is,
so
I think it's a
Ed,
good
I
question.
totally understand where
Yeah.
you're coming from.
we were threatened with a lawsuit over the closure of Stibnite. We didn't close it, we just put a gate on it.
Yeah.
And we dealt with lawyers on that. And so it's, you know, I mean,
Public Forest Service Road.
darn if you do and darn if you don't.
Yeah, but what makes it, the Forest Service closes roads for resources. The state closes roads for resources. And we're talking about an early spring, critical period, 2 or 3 weeks when people are just basically playing on something, there's really no place to go. They can't go over the top. You can go up as far as they can push up the road and as much damage as they can. Do we have a responsibility to let those guys do that? Us taxpayers.
These are county roads, they're county roads.
Well, they're not.
They're not forest.
Just because they're county roads doesn't mean
Like
that we
Sherry
have
said.
to let people drive them up, does
What are
it?
you gonna do, put a gate across it?
Why not?
Like Sherry said.
Yeah,
Well, I
well,
will tell you what's happening with
Well,
DF gates. They're $2,500 a piece and people are pulling them out right and left.
Right.
well,
Gates don't stop people. And I
yeah.
don't know how to cure
understand,
stupid because somebody that's doing that is just pure, they're just being silly with their.
I understand what, I understand, but I'm asking, I mean, we're talking about a situation for 2 or 3 weeks creates a lot of maintenance.
Make a recommendation, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, make
Yeah.
a recommendation
You
to
know.
the commissioners.
People will drive around the gates.
Okay, we're not talking about people,
You're not gonna-
we're not talking about people that are violent, that's gonna violate. What we're
There's a
saying
few-
is,
there's a few
what is
people
our
out there.
responsibility?
There's a few people out there.
Well, what is our responsibility?
You ask them that.
Yeah, what is our
You
responsibility?
talk to them about
You know, I mean, as a county.
it. You can't, you're preaching to the choir here, you talk to those.
No, no, you can't. That's what that stuff's all about. People are gonna violate it, right, if they can't.
Well, yeah,
We know
big
that.
country.
But if you have no regulations, it's a.
Beyond our scope of recommendation.
Yeah.
You think so?
Okay, so here's one more thing on my timetable.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Paul brought it up earlier, the opening of CSASH Summit. That is one of the main ones we do open up. We try to have it open and drivable by Memorial. We're looking at 3 feet on this side, which I explained to Paul. The Snowtail site is out facing
In the sun.
in a burn. I don't know if any of you went back there, but as soon as you go over the top, you're in the shade. You go from 6 inches on the south side, but 4 feet on the north side. There's a weird little deal in there that we used to do it when the snow tail got down to 18 inches, we'd start opening.
Why is that a priority?
Yeah.
Good question. It's something we've always
The
done.
reality is, if you wait a week,
Yes.
it's
could make
gone.
a huge
on its own.
difference.
So what I was explaining to Paul, we're just about to the point where we're losing 4 inches a day on that snowpack. Last 3 years, Memorial Weekend was a weekend early because of the way the last May fell. We didn't open it, and then we're losing 4 inches a day. The following weekend, it was open by itself. We never heard the end of it.
I'll say.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've
It's-
been instructed by the commissioner, don't expend any more money than I have to open it. Explain to Paul, Idaho County pays for 2/3 of that opening, we pay for 1/3. When my guys get done, they give me their time cards, me and Mickey figure it out, we send Idaho County Road and Bridge Department their bill for 2/3 of it. Oh, yeah,
So Jeff,
so we do get paid for that. No, they pay every year.
let's translate that into dollars here. That's why we're here, because we need money to make the roads.
Right.
And we've got, okay, to Seaside Summit, as far as I know, there's not a single house on that road between the North Beach,
All the way to Seaside.
all is Seaside Summit. Not a single Valley County resident lives on that
Oh,
road.
up to the summit, yes.
Yes. But we spend 1/3 of what it costs to open that road for,
Well, it's like I explained to Paul, we get
yeah.
Bergdorf or to this junction open. And once that's open, leave the grader at the Bergdorf junction, we go all the way out there. We go all the way down to the south fork.
When you're dealing with that, you are getting reimbursed by Idaho County.
Yes.
I actually talked today to Idaho County's road supervisor, and one of the discussions come up, road districts. He actually, they want, that county wants the Warren district to be a road district.
They want them to
For a
do
deal, they want to get rid of that problem. Done, you know, and so
That has to come from.
it does.
that. Yeah, there's discussion in Warren about that.
Yeah.
So, but that's, I think,
What do they
you
wanna
know,
do?
we
What
want
do
to
they
create
wanna
a highway district. That'd be number 13 or
create a
14
highway
for Idaho
district.
County. Idaho County has a vicinity of.
We have either 11 or 12 districts.
Yeah.
Some of them as little as 40 miles.
Some of them are less than 10.
I'd wanna
Yeah,
research
yeah.
that a little bit.
They have 13 highway districts and 1 road department.
There's a, you know, according to their supervisor, they have no problem with their road districts. They get some of the funding, but they also have levy opportunities in those roads. Individual levy opportunities. You know, and so there's,
So I would like to research this more
Yes.
before I make a full statement. We also have a large recreation program. Memorial Day, after that, and you guys can see how many people show up. So if they can't go north over that summit, you are right here in the valley. And we're trying to spread at least a little bit of that recreation out. So it depends on what that cost is, and I'll do some more research work.
where do we get
You
it
know
back,
what?
Sherry? Where do we get it back?
The economy's boost for recreation. I can get you some stats, but I mean, we get it.
They're
Valley
nebulous.
County itself gets, the last stat I saw was like $2 million.
That mileage all the way to the Seaside Summit is also included in our calculation, correct? We do get $2,000 a mile, but which the road, when it doesn't,
It doesn't need anything.
no, when it doesn't need to be plowed, it doesn't need anything. So there's just one of those things where, I'm not sure that's officially meet the fry.
I mean,
I'll be
so
honest with you.
the reason we do 1/3 and 2/3 is because once we get to Bergdorf, it's a free swing. We might have a little bit on Steamboat to punch through. And we just kind of freewheel it all the way through Warren, get all the way to Sawmill Point. And we do a quick blade on that all the way down to the Warren Summit's usually.
I don't have any problem doing these things. What I'm saying is, we're talking about money.
You want justification.
You want to justify, what do you do? What do we do? The things we do. And that's why people are out there know these things. The rain season is a lot more in yellow pine. Here.
Well, just like Paul was saying and discussed, money is given for the amount of miles. Are we talking about Yellow Pine? We've got for example, from Yellow Pine to Big Creek and around, I'm sure we get money yearly for that. But that's only been maintained, if that, every 2 years. Okay, so we're talking about money that goes from Yellow Pine to Stibnite to over Monumental and to Thunder Mountain. From Stibnite to Thunder Mountain rarely is maintained. Okay?
That's not,
Right, so do we get money for that?
no, we do it,
Isn't that part of the county road
part of the,
funds?
no,
It's not,
the monumental cemeteries.
Monumental is,
Yes.
But not to-
When the Forest Service asked us to, do something we've always done,
right,
we will go out to the T.
then you'll go out to,
That's what it's not on.
but it's not on, okay, so. But what about going all the way around to
Yes.
Big Creek? That's on there.
That's on our.
And
blue
if
line.
that's only maintained every 2 or 3 years,
Yep.
you're getting money every year for that, and you use that money to fix your potholes in
Well,
McCall.
this is the whole point.
Yeah, a
So-
lot of that money from, I drive that loop right after it opens. If we don't need a blade on it, we don't do anything with it, because once you loosen the road up,
Yeah,
it just falls apart all summer long. A lot of that money from that, I'm gonna call it that area,
right.
is to fixing sloughs, over between, stuff like that. Above, of the back.
Yeah,
Trails End.
okay.
Yeah, we spend extra money up there, but yes, so we do get $2,000 a mile for all of that,
Right.
whether we touch it or not.
Whether you touch it.
But a lot of it, so this $2,000 a mile is based, YTD will come and inspect a certain amount of roads every year. You don't care how rough they are, all inspected for drainage. If it drains, in slope, out slope, crown, ditches, whatever, as long as it meets their criteria, they pay us. Sometimes it doesn't need to be touched.
You also have to understand too that to do that 2,000 miles, you're taking our $400,000 grader we pay for, our dump trucks, our employees to
Excuse
go
me,
out there where
excuse
he can
me.
make money. So it's not like.
Now, wait a
it's free.
minute.
Yes.
We have a 30-year-old plus to maintain in the winter plow truck. Transmission is out, has no four-wheel drive, the front end is out.
Is that what plows?
That's what plows our road from Yellow Pine to the Warm Lake Road. That is, and he has to put chains on it. That is our fancy equipment. And you're telling me that you're using all of this equipment, but there is no fancy equipment. And, you know,
If you take the tax base that's out there,
What?
what you pay Valley County
Right.
taxes for your gas
we
tax.
do, and how much gas do we use in comparison to what you guys
We
use?
can figure that
back and
out. We
forth.
can easily figure that out.
Yeah.
And you'll find that your base, maybe that's all they can afford to do out there. You see what I'm saying? You're a smaller, much smaller.
Well, no, you
tax base.
just said that we were using your fancy graders and this and that, and we're not.
Yes, you are.
No, we're, what
To
fancy?
plow
graders?
county, you're not plowing county roads, you're plowing Forest Service.
We
roads.
are plowing county roads.
Well, I was talking about
From
getting in.
Yellow Pine to the Warm Lake Road.
Grace St. Johnson Creek Road is a county road.
No,
It's not a Forest
no,
Service
you
road.
have to go around
Southport, East.
Southport in the winter. There's no other roads being plowed, just
So what I'd like to
Yellow Pine
do, I'm not trying to put an end to this, but what I'd like to try to do is the next agenda item we're gonna put on for the next meeting is some of our vehicle replacement plan.
Yay.
And to see if we could potentially, working with Jeff,
Right.
come up with a way to solve a broken piece of equipment.
Yeah,
So
and
let's, can we table this one till the next
Yes.
Not trying to,
Well, and there was a
Put a lid on
statement
it.
made that there's minimal, or we need to reduce to minimal maintenance backcountry. Excuse me, but we're under minimal maintenance right now. I'm serious.
The whole
So you
county
guys
is
need to
under
know this.
minimal. We're
What?
all desperate. All
Yeah.
our roads are falling apart. It's not yours.
Yeah.
Ours are falling apart
Right.
in the valley too.
Yeah, but.
And how do you pass the levy? Do we make a freeway to your place and get 29 votes? Or do we fix the roads that are in here and get 67% of the people to vote the levy?
Somebody said
fix all
that
the roads.
that last levy wasn't covering the backcountry roads, it was just covering the county
It would've been
roads.
everything.
Somebody said that.
Oh, yeah.
It was covered.
Is that wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, we
So-
had the impression it wasn't.
And
for our-
for whatever it's worth, before you head back, we'll take a drive down Old State Highway. I spend a lot of time in that back
My road's
Every,
worse than
every,
your road.
every summer.
That's
I
right.
drive Johnson Creek, I drive over the
Yeah.
South Fork into Big Creek, I spend a lot of
Yeah.
time in that country. I can tell you that right now, I would just as soon drive Johnson Creek open versus Old State Highway.
Okay, we can't really, it's not apples and
So
apples.
it is an apples to apples,
Yeah.
but we're trying to solve a more
Yeah.
globalized problem here. And granted, everybody's not,
And I can totally agree
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to deal
with
with
it.
it.
Your
Yeah, we
statement.
could
You
table
also
it.
have to understand ours, and the goal of this committee originally was to get the levy passed. How to get that, how to get the
Well, I
most
don't
votes.
think that maintaining backcountry has got people turned off. Because why do people come up here? You know, that
They
road
don't
is
vote.
packed. Okay, that road is packed in the summer. You can hardly get out on it, and even in the winter. And where do those people
But
go?
Lorraine,
They're not going to McCall to look at the potholes in McCall. They're going to the backcountry, and I have a list of all the things that people do in the backcountry, and I'll send you all a copy of this.
we understand all that.
That is why the people are
Yeah.
coming up here. They're not coming up to look at your potholes in
But they're
McCall.
not the voters.
Okay,
They're
we
not the
understand.
voters.
Well,
They're the
except,
public.
This, so let's bring this back, because we can get into a real emotional conversation here. This is the emotions of our county. And it is always, my email is full all the time, my road's the worst one in the county. Everybody feels that way throughout. What we have to find is stable funding so that we take care of everyone's road, not pick and choose which ones we have to. And
How do we do that?
so,
well,
The
that's a
levy.
levy.
And we
That's
gotta
the
get
levy.
the people to vote for the levy. There's gonna be people that are gonna be pissed. But if we get them 67% to vote for it, then there's money for all of us.
So
Yeah,
that,
a
so
lot.
Lorraine,
I wanna say one thing though with that, Gary, because we keep
Yeah.
talking about the levy. This group has put in a stable funding structure, whether it's a levy or not. We're still doing our research. I was frustrated on your guys' behalf in the newspaper, that's why I responded. You guys have done a lot of work over the last year, finding out exactly how all of this works. And we don't wanna go out and ask for a levy rate that's not needed. We don't wanna underfund it with what is needed. As you can all tell, I mean, that takes a lot of time and energy to figure out all of this. I mean, my head has been blown the last 18 months trying to figure out just road infrastructure. And what happened last time is we went out and just asked for the top levy rate because we know that we're under, funded. We need to make sure it's the correct fund.
Well, that's our
So
number
to
10
take-
goal.
we
We
need
need the taxpayers proportions to the needs of the road department.
Absolutely.
Be able to
And we're
defend.
still researching that. That's one of the things we can't say.
but Lorraine, to
Yeah.
kind of boil back, I don't think anybody here discounts your passion about it.
well, yeah,
Least
but
of all me. However,
people up here all do all of these things in the backcountry, and they vote.
no, I get it.
And they
No,
vote.
They just don't vote. No, let's stop.
They
Hold
can
on.
vote here.
Just hold on.
Yeah,
The reality of this is, how many year-round residents?
we have 23 years
Okay,
round.
okay. 23 year-round residents that live in Valley County.
Right.
That vote in Valley County. This is a Valley County vote. This isn't a statewide vote. This isn't a city vote. This is you won't. You have 23. So this funding issue is going to benefit Philippine and Big Creek comparatively to every place else. But we have to figure out how to get over the hump not necessarily with 23 voters. We've got to figure out how to get the people in McCall vote. The city of McCall, which is a big population center.
Yeah, but those
They-
people go to
they're-
the backcountry.
No,
And that's what we have to.
right, but
They do.
but the thing that you have to understand is, to get them to understand the issue we're dealing with here, to support the funding, it's gonna eventually benefit everybody. We gotta get that population center, which is what our piece of this, all these mechanisms are places to get the people who live on this valley floor that are here all the time, that represent probably 80% of the or more of the people live here and vote in the county on board. Once that takes place, then it's going to create a funding mechanism to benefit Yellow Pine. It's going to benefit the Big Creek Lodge. It's going to benefit the Yellow Jacket Ranch. All of it, but we can't have a back and forth disagreement. Whose road's better than others. The bigger picture is we got to get across that hump. Everybody.
Well, yeah, but like Sherry mentioned, backcountry is a huge foundation for the valley. All of the businesses here are run on that.
And that's why we're taking
Right.
things back.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Lori,
recreation.
it seems to me like that you have to convince voters of Valley County that we, voters and the property owners of Valley County, need to be a prime supporter and maintenance entity to a huge landowner back there that owns those roads and owns that land that people go to. In other words, it's public land. It belongs to the people of the United
The
States.
huge
property.
landowner is the federal government.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we've done in the past, and I personally think we dug ourselves a hole in it, is we said, no, we'll take over this
We'll
road.
take over the road.
We're gonna take over roads because we're afraid you guys are gonna close them.
Yeah.
It's unfounded.
Well, we used to have all that
And-
money to do it, too, so
Yeah.
we could.
And so
Right.
now, we've got them. The decision has to be, we have to discuss this in this group. We have to discuss. Do we continue to do business the same way? We're
Okay,
gonna
so-
continue to do the federal government's job.
We have
Yeah.
a larger conversation, and I
Yes.
know it's gonna be on the agenda. So I want to raise it with this group on the agenda. Okay? And then we can have a more thorough discussion after that. But the VF Development is now in communication with the county about taking back some of the, we wanna call them roads, there, a lot of them are ATV. Goes back. Because they've been closed, that's where a lot of your gates are. We're trying to get back some of those recreational opportunities. These are not something that we are going to start maintaining. Very narrow. But we can add them back into our record. Some of them are very small connected points, which would be roads. That we need that access point. Some of them, and I don't know what some of them need that because of that. But one of them that I feel pretty strongly about is the road that goes from the Horsey down to Clear Creek. Because if you get a fire going on the north, you've got people stuck back there. You can't. So it's a fire safety issue. So I am pushing for roads that people will be stuck in a fire situation. Yeah. So those are ongoing conversations. You guys are welcome to come to the meeting on Monday. We're having a work plan. It was on the last week before. Got an initial meeting. I let them know we don't have a bunch of money. We don't want a bunch of stuff back where we have it. But we are willing to take that access point.
And the recreation groups agree to maintenance of a lot of volunteers in recreation groups. You know, there's been motorcycle trail groups up there clearing some of
And that would be
Right,
yeah, what would happen for a lot of
Once they're in the county,
Right.
they can get, sounds like through our recreation director, once they're in perpetuity,
Yeah.
they can apply for grants.
Can we move, I move to adjourn. How's this? And what I would like to do is, I will forward out some of the things that came out,
Okay, and
along with your input for future agenda items, but we would like to meet in 2 weeks. And we'd like to spend 2 o'clock and spend that whole agenda on opportunities for funding, including a levy. So,
In a month, we do the funding, because I want to have some guest
Okay.
speakers here, but I do have some items.
okay, so we'll have an agenda for the next 2 weeks from today.
Can we
Be the 19th.
get our minutes with that? So that, yes, that we can start getting our brains wrapped around with
Right.
our work.
I'm gonna volunteer for something, we
Okay.
talked about having some tasks. I will work on that subdivision issue. I'll take that on and try to commit to having some sort of report on that within the, not next meeting, but the monthly meeting. And that so hopefully I can understand better of why we take on something, what we need to do, if there's anything we need to do.
As a possibly do it in 2 weeks, because I'd like to put that on the agenda, because in a month, I'd like to spend almost the whole time on the funding. That's
I'll do
possible.
that. I'll work on that. I'll get together with Cinda and I'll try to sort through that and I'll send.
Okay, so to summarize then, the next meeting in 2 weeks, we will have agenda items. I'll collect them all up and I can fill it up. And then the following, the June meeting, we will devote the whole thing on funding opportunities. And
Perfect.
Gary has got some,
Yeah, I've got
an expert help.
quite a bit I'd like.
So Paul and Ed, we use. Everywhere.
Rather meeting. Copy.
Yeah. And then our approved minutes. Whoever's gonna hear. Yes. Those approved minutes, go back to Doug.
One of the things on this one, I know that you said, Paul and I, but I'm assuming that the chair is gonna do that, just react as long as Paul.
Oh, yeah.
No.
And I'll keep you on that.
I already used mine.
So I have a question. I went to that meeting, remember this one? And it looked like we balanced the budget for 2017. What is the big issue is?
Such back and here.
Oh, okay.
We were doing maintenance.
And
Just
we will
maintenance.
discuss that whole thing in 1 month.
Yeah, 1 month.
One real
Okay,
quick
meeting
question.
is, I move to adjourn the
Okay.
meeting.
Oh, I second the motion.
Second the motion.
I second it.
We all
Aye.
say
In
favor.
Aye. Say aye. Motion.
Thank you. Did you guys, did anything happen on the discussion?
No, I was taking
Motion we've made to get you guys.
We've got an update.
Remember
On this one here, I think.
We should have gone.
Somebody's gonna turn that into business, so we really like it. It's good, keep it.
It never got on the
Right.
You guys asked if it was.
Yeah, we can get a little, we can go down the transition.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
So we saw through the cracks some issues.
Like 2 months ago.
Take care.
To my knowledge, it never was.
That's sure about that.